Audio check, audio check. We will be with you shortly. All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the DYOR.
Hey.
Welcome to the DYOR Media Network. It's time for a new show. We're just getting started right here, so stand by with us for just a moment while we do that. Pedro, while I get a few social media things out, why don't you give everybody the warm welcome and tell them what to do.
Excellent. Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. Listen, thank you so much for showing up today. We appreciate every one of you guys. If you guys could, please hit that like, subscribe, and share button. We'd appreciate it. While you're doing that, please hit those heart buttons and tell me where you would like to be or where you're at right now, whatever you feel comfortable with. But whatever we want you to do is just please hit that like button. We'd appreciate it. Kind of get the word out there that things are popping and moving and getting going. Also, if you could as well, hit the little, there you go. Whoever's doing that, I appreciate it. Hit them 100 or the heart buttons. Those really actually help to get the word out. That's interaction with us as well. So we appreciate that. Besides that, you guys have any questions, any concerns, anything like that, or even questions you want to ask us to kind of address regarding Bitcoin and everything like that, also let us know.
Good morning, Pedro. How's the new year?
It's going well, dude. Right off the jump, man. It's gang. I mean, it's like you've been rushed with. Everybody's been chilling. I mean, with Guitar and Michael Saylor both saying, "Hey, we want 5% of the Bitcoin circulating." Bitcoin. That's just like what? And then bricks and all that craziness is happening. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like just right off the jump, like everything right off the jump. It's like I'm learning a lot about China and what's going on there, and so it's just like everything's hitting the fan. Like right off the jump, man. 2024 it seems like it's going to be a crazy year. I mean, it's
well. I just brought you up on the screen here. And the chart, the Bitcoin chart that you have up there, it's quite interesting right now.
Yeah, look, like I said, right now we're in between these little spots here where it's just right now BTC is hitting literally the monthly SMA, or excuse me, the monthly zone sitting right there with there's a lot of sellers sitting right in this level. So as you can see, we're already hitting off of it. Are we going to hit this and then sell off? I don't know. I there's so much good.
There has to be a sell-off. There has to be. I hate to sound like a jumbo on here, but there's got to be a sell-off. There has to be.
Well, here's the thing. Like one thing I've learned about in the markets, man. Like like I was bearish all the way down at 5,000. But the reality is that if the market wants to move up, it's going to move up. We're seeing volume step in, in the last day, or actually even today. Today's really where we see the volume kind of kicking in. I mean, what's even interesting, and I'll put it like this. And so everybody's really excited about the ETFs kicking out with BlackRock, with Grayscale, with also when we got 16 ETFs, we got Kathy Woods kicking things off as well. So you got this huge push, right? But people don't realize that these ETFs are not cash in, coin out.
Right.
These ETFs are cash in, cash out.
Yep.
You don't get to hold on to Bitcoin. You're exposed to Bitcoin and its potential meteor rocket. A rocket explosion, meteoric, just
meteoric rise.
Yeah, thank you, meteoric rise. I can't even say it right. I mean,
although meteors only seem to fall to the earth, so maybe that's not the right phrase.
That's right. It's a good point. But a rocket, my brain was sitting there going, rocket or meteor, and I'm like, we'll go with both. So, but the reality is this is like, have they already bought in? Because I know that I heard. I.e., we really don't really know that Michael Saylor wants to hold 5% of the circulating Bitcoin. I mean, that's just nuts.
That's a lot.
Think about it,
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, 5% is a million Bitcoins, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's a million.
A million Bitcoins.
Million and some change. So we're talking like that's a pretty big amount. And just that alone of him knowing that he's coming in every time we see a sell-off, and him coming out and just saying that is enough where you're going to get FOMO just to come in. So every time it sells off, he's coming in to buy it because he said, I want 5%. And so if he backtracks on that, you can get fined and sent to jail. He's in America. Wait, is he in America or Canada?
I don't know where he is. I'm guessing he's an American.
Yeah, American. but the reality is he can get in trouble with that. So he's got to do it. Put his
He's not going to get in trouble for that. He doesn't have any disclosure requirements.
Yep.
Well, maybe for MicroStrategy. Yeah, if he's speaking on MicroStrategy does. And so if he's buying it for MicroStrategy, there's probably something. He has to at least be transparent with when.
Yeah.
But 5% of $1 trillion. I mean, we're at almost 900 billion right now. So let's just round up to $1 trillion. Is not small money. I mean, 5%, it's 10% would be 100 billion, and 5% would be 50 billion, right?
I mean, either way. But that's not even we know that Qatar said they want to go through and they want to own 5%. El Salvador wants to own as much as it can. I don't think it's going to stop at 5%. I mean, they're also coming out with their own ETF. And that ETF with BTC will be cash in, coin in, BTC out. So you're actually going to get, with El Salvador, real BTC when you cash out.
Right.
So these things are...
There's also ETF. I mean, let's be honest. This is not new. This ETF thing. There's an ETF in Singapore right now, but just there's just not as many brokers in the U.S. or Europe have access to that market. Not because it's like illegal or anything, just because their companies they work with don't have any counterparty agreements with the traders over there. So, but I'm certain that those things will develop over time. Especially if the SEC even punts at all a little bit here on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's more important to understand is that as we move to and I'm going to show my BTC chart here real quick. So I don't know if I've ever I think I've shown this, yeah, and I've had this in my community. I've showed people in my community what I think. So and this is very conservative, I believe, for what's actually happening with Bitcoin. So if you think of how the market has moved within Bitcoin, and you see how when it moves, it jumps in scales, right? It's a boom boom. So if you take from the bottom to the top of all these previous explosions, I think the first one was like 1,000x, then the second one was like 100+x, and then this last one was like 30x, right? So I don't think we're gonna get another. We might get a 30x, but I don't think we're gonna 30x. But I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope I'm wrong. But just like I said, I hope I'm wrong with BTC going down to 5,000, 10,000.
Let's not mention that right now. The algorithm may trash us just for that.
Well, but I say this because here's the thing. I've got you as a trader. You have to be open to where the market's going to go, right? And so if we just basically take from the highs, right, of a 3x from our highs, which I think is very plausible, right? We're talking 60,000. So that, or 70,000, that is 180,000. So I rounded to 200,000 of Bitcoin for this next bull rally, right? And so then after that, now this is not, I thought that the world wouldn't necessarily jump into it this bull run. I did not think they would, but obviously they are, right? And this first bull run, they'll probably go in and get in. If we're talking just simple El Salvador, we're talking Qatar, we're talking Saudi Arabia, we're talking Michael Saylor, right? That's 20%. They all want 5% of the circulating coin going through the Bitcoin ecosystem. So if that is a lot. Because we don't sit when you have all these
That
types.
is a
There's
lot.
going to be much more demand. There's the amount of demand, the buys versus the sells. There's not going to be enough sells, right? People aren't going to sell. You know, we've already seen people hodl. So
Especially in
it
the
ain't like
Bitcoin
it's
world.
yeah, it's exactly, especially in the Bitcoin world. So it's just going to start jumping. I mean, potentially jumping all the way into $200,000, $300,000. I honestly think that 200,000 might even be a little shy. Now, I've heard people talk about 60,000, 60,000, 80,000, 100,000 BTC. But when you consider, these guys talking about how much money they want to buy for Bitcoin, or excuse me, how much percentage they want of Bitcoin, I think I think 200,000 potentially could be a little shy. And the way we've just been blowing through these SMAs with BTC, it screams to me that they're serious about it. They're not joking. So is it going to have a sell off? We'll probably have a sell off, and we don't have a lot of wicks right coming down. We have wicks down here, but we don't have a lot of wicks. So we could see a sell off from 45,000 potentially to 42,000. I expected us over the Christmas break and or New Year for us to come down, at least to the 30,000. But maybe this monthly zone we're gonna hit this and then see a sell off. Once we had this crossover,
Yeah.
right here, I sat there and said, "Oh yeah, it's going down." But sure enough, look, I don't know who came in at this low.
I'll tell you who came in. It's Crypto Mike. Oh, Canada. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for tuning in.
Definitely.
All we've been doing is talking about the market right now, but as usual, hit that like button for us.
We'd appreciate it. But like that biggest thing is looking at the market and its demand. I don't see in the spot ETF right now coming in, right? Like I just don't see it here, right? I'm not seeing a huge amount of buyers. But are people waiting? Kind of like in 2008 when we had the huge sell-off. We had a few people who came in, some major institutions who came in and started to buy. So it was really interesting to sit there and see what was actually happening overall in the market. So when 2008, you started seeing as the market was selling off, we had huge sell-offs. There was a point in time where it was just nothing but all sells.
Right.
It's almost like you have all these buyers sitting here almost like kind of chilling on the sideline a little, like, and so is this thing going to explode, or is it going to wait for a sell-off to explode?
Man, I remember when it was tanking down to 18,000 before the FTX thing dropped it to 16,000. I just remember watching that chart, and it was like, I'm like, where are the buyers? And there was just sell-offs, and the little buying, it looked like market makers just doing little business. And then the market makers were like, we're not making any money here, guys. And then they stopped trading, and then it just went poof, right down to 18. And I was like, I was looking at the volume, and as you know, I'm only partially good at these charts things, but it's good enough to read volumes and buys and sells and stuff. And I'm like, where are the buyers? And it was like the buyers like Michael Saylor were sitting there going, go lower, go lower, go lower. And finally the FTX crash happened, and they're like, that's the crisis we've been waiting for. Boom. And then they started to prepare to load back up.
Yeah, and personally, I'm still new. I'm gonna be honest. Like this is my first, bear rally and bull rally, right? Beginning of the bull. I got in at the last part of the bull rally where it was the descending, the descend to the bear rally, and it's so interesting because crypto really. There is a community aspect.
Space Cat in the house. Welcome, Space Cat.
Oh, what's up, Space Cat?
Hope your New Year's Eve work or shift was productive.
Nice, man. Hope you made some good money.
I guess it wasn't New Year's Eve. New Year's Day Eve. New Year's Day night, whatever.
Yeah, please, guys, hit that like button, share button. We'd appreciate it. Talk to us. Tell us where you would like to be at. Hey, if in the bull run, let's say you guys become millionaires, where are you guys going to want to retire at? That's what I want to know. Talk to us about that. But in the back end here, though, when we're looking at this market is like I thought we would see a lot more volume. Again, like I hate to bring this up, right? But I thought we'd see much more volume. So it's just interesting to see it's hard to get into crypto, right? Like you got to first understand, if you're going to get into it the correct way, the real reason behind crypto, besides becoming financially wealthy, right, is really to be your own bank,
right?
For you to actually be able to self-govern yourself.
Imagine
and
that. Who are you? I'm the Bank of Tom.
Yes. That's the thing.
What policies you got to follow? Tom's policies.
Yeah. Yeah, who I want to do business with. I can send you money from my wallet.
Yep.
And there, I don't got to sit there. Now, granted, if I'm doing stupid things where I'm giving money to, bad people, right? You're going to get dinged. But even then, you can see that. Whereas if I had cash, and I can give it to bad people, that would be bad. So that's one thing that I really like. So as people get into crypto, they're going to sit there and say, wow, this is real freedom. I can do what I want, right, with my cash.
Right. Space Cat says he's going somewhere warm that has no winter. And that's where he's going to have the Bank of Space Cat.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Mike says, out in the country in Manitoba, although I'd pay to get fiber put in. Mike, everywhere in Manitoba is out in the country. I hate to tell you this, but... Oh, we kid. Winnipeg is a big town, has a hockey team, and is a proper place. But we got a kid about Manitoba.
If you ain't kidding. If I ain't making fun of you, we're probably not friends.
All right, Pedro, we opened up with Bitcoin and a little bit of talk. I'm going to do my thing and reopen the show up later so we can get those people in. But give us the 30 seconds, the Tom 30 seconds, not Pedro 30 seconds. Rundown of what you expect for BTC this week.
Yeah, so I basically see us going up, hitting the supply zone, potentially selling off from here. Be looking potentially to go up. First thing, I would say maybe 40, 45, 46,000. The peak of the zone is 48,000, and then coming down to these lows here at that 40,000. But this is all predicated on if the SEC does not release their
ETFs,
their approval. Yeah, their approval of ETFs. If they do, I would expect this thing to shoot up. I would expect to see it shoot up and potentially go up to that 49,000, 45,000 area. Excuse me, 54,000, 49,000. This thing could skyrocket in all reality right here if it gets going, because there's nothing sitting here. But if it doesn't, and we could pace here and then see a sell off potentially to that 40,000 mark area. So I was trying to do in 30 seconds.
It's all right.
That's all right.
That was good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I always like to say, now it's time to get the show started. Good day, everybody. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. It is January 2nd. It's 2 days. Guess what? It's almost Christmas time. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost Christmas time. No, I'm just kidding. We just got over Christmas. We're just into the new year. We just heard from Pedro about BTC and what the interesting things going on with that coming up this week. But we're here on the first show of the year to talk about what everyone else always does, the first show of the year. I know it's a mindless trope, but what is coming up? What is our crystal ball prediction? And I thought I was going to have the lady doing the crystal ball thing here, but don't worry about it. And so we are going to be talking about what's coming up, and we want you to get involved in the conversation and tell us your opinions of what's coming up. Everyone said that the hype right now and the FOMO is starting to kick in. Everyone's like, this is going to be a great year. Everyone's buying like crazy, all these new products. Woo! but some bad things can happen too. Bad things can happen also. And so, on that note, let's get started with this show. Pedro, you just gave us the BTC rundown.
Yes.
I almost go ahead.
I wanted to bring this up real quick. We always see banks always go over leveraged, right? Like it is something that it's inherent when something's going good. How do I buy more, right? We've seen this all the way back into, the early Roman era. We also see this actually FOMOing stuff like this has always happened. Going all the way back to the Crescent Fertile, ancient Babylonian craziness, right? Like it's always been around. We always see bubbles, all right? They come and go. And the reason why we see these bubbles is people are always looking for leverage. How do they leverage so they can get more of something? And part of me wonders, like, who's going to over leverage? And it's scary because it's like
someone is, it.
Yeah, who's going to go and buy or ask for a loan of $1 trillion from a international monetary fund and then put it into Bitcoin, right? Like, what's actually going to happen? Are we going to see? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's really interesting. And do you think we're going to have another bear market?
I don't think I don't necessarily think we'll have a bear market yet, unless really. For me, my opinion is that it turns around whether the governments of the West can turn off the money printers, but not like just off, like all right, we're cutting spending, but slowly, like coming off of heroin. You gotta slowly wean yourself, get on the methadone. Not that I know anything that's going on about that, but slowly wean yourself off of that because if they just keep printing the money. Optimism will come down, pessimism will go up, and people will start hoarding cash, especially large institutions that have lots of cash in the market. Does that mean good for BTC? We never really know. We can't at this point say that whenever the markets tanks, everyone's like, let's rush to BTC, flight to safety. That's not there yet. Gold, yeah, but BTC, still too many market manipulators in that. But so my idea is that if there's going to be a bear market, if the governments can turn off the money printers and slowly wean us down and just show on that graph like you showed the other day of the
central bank
the balance sheet. If they can bring the balance sheet back down, then
which they are,
the Wall Street will be like, this is great. They got it under control. It depends on the U.S. election too, and how if the U.S. government ends up all three, that the Senate, the House, and the President all with one party with good majorities, I'm not saying which party, just with one, then all hell's going to break loose. It's going to be awful because everyone's going to pass terrible agendas that they've been arguing back and forth about. But if one party controls one place and the other controls another and the other is the other, then they won't get anything major done, which means they can't screw anything up.
Yep.
So I think the market revolves around the government because I feel the business community is ready to let it rock and roll.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So we say the U.S. market, but it's very clear that the U.K. is absolutely hung-go about crypto. They're putting in legislation. Here, look, this is where you need your taxes. Boom. It's all set up there. So it's interesting to see. Do you think if we start to see crypto just explode in price movement, that do you think America will be discounted based off of what is?
Yes.
We've got the biggest. So what are your thoughts?
Until the U.S. gets its regulatory house in order, the U.S. will be discounted. And if the U.S. gets its regulatory house in order, then all bets are off, and then it's gonna go freaking crazy. Because I was having a discussion with somebody yesterday about this whole business of the way they want to set things up so that like the ETFs have to buy and sell the shares, and then some other company clears the trades, and then some other company holds the custody of it, and this type of stuff. And it's so inefficient. It's so inefficient doing that. And in the old days, that all started like, well, there's market protections and this type of stuff. It started when people actually had to take stock certificates and trade them. Like, here's 100 shares. Okay. And it was inefficient wasn't that it wasn't safe. It was inefficient for people to do that. So they developed clearinghouses. And so the clearinghouses just kept all the stock on shelves and just moved shit around at the end of the day. Like, okay, move stuff around. And then, of course, they went digital, in the 80s, or 70s or something like that, when they got deregulated and got rid of the $2 brokers on the stock exchange. And they just it went got very large, but the system was in hand and it was working for stocks. Stocks take 3 days to settle. Everybody knew that. Everybody counted on that. That's not what it's like with crypto. It settles instantly, and you can settle things instantly by sending things back and forth. So I think that once the U.S. gets their house in order and says, all right, you know what, we don't need to have people hold, if you want to buy and sell Bitcoin, someone else has to hold it for you. I mean, come on. What, does that make any sense? Is anyone here?
No.
Anyone? I'm pointing out to the big crowd out here in the studio audience. It's just the homeless people out in Ottawa out here.
Oh, that breaks my heart, bro.
Well,
go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, and so I think that the regulatory market, when it shapes up in the U.S., the U.S. will just crush it. It'll crush the rest of the world, and people like Qatar and Saudi Arabia, who think they're the hot stuff in the world in finance, won't even see what's coming to them. I mean, literally, Qatar is like, okay, we got a lot of money, and the state of California has more money than Qatar. Yeah, and absolutely. And it's the economy of New York State, by itself, is the 5th largest economy in the world, or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it takes into Wall Street.
California as well. They're in the top. I mean, just our states alone.
Yeah, the GDP of New York State is larger than that of Russia, including their entire oil industry.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
It's ridiculous how much money flows. Now, granted, it's because partly we are the world's reserve, right? And so
absolutely.
We get to run in gold. We basically, we're able to exchange in gold. But it's still let's say things switch over to Bitcoin. Well, we already have a ton of money. I mean, you think we're not going to know when the world reserves decides? And here's the other thing: we already know who's the major holder of Bitcoin, who's the largest Bitcoin holder, right? Besides Satoshi Nakamoto, it's the U.S. government.
Yeah, Coinbase. No, not Coinbase. Robinhood, the U.S. government, Michael Saylor, and Binance. Yeah.
So it's like, and all those are based pretty much in America. So it's one of those things. It's just like, I don't see Michael Saylor moving anywhere. Even if we get depegged as a world currency, which I don't see happening, but it's potentially, if it was, we just like, all right, fine, we'll just flood everything in with cash.
Right. Yeah, that's what people talk about. Like, for instance, we had someone comment up here earlier about, let's see, Saudi Arabia officially joins BRICS, this type of stuff. And people talk about the potential price impact on that. Well, they have to buy all this stuff. Remember, these governments, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, they don't operate on a big reserve currency, or they don't operate on with huge savings. They operate on cash. They're selling oil for cash right away. So if everyone says, well, they could buy, Saudi Arabia could buy $20 billion worth of Bitcoin tomorrow. You're right. But they have to sell it in order to pay their salaries. This is not these. They say, we want to get 5% of the circulating supply. But what like I always tell people, let's walk through the big picture here. When they buy that stuff, they need that cash they need. I mean, obviously those countries have big sovereign wealth funds, right? And if they're gonna not listen to their risk managers and put it all in one thing, then we know a big crash will be coming soon.
That's actually what they said.
Right.
That's actually literally what they said. They're going to put. That's the part that's what I think is interesting. Is they literally said they want to switch everything into Bitcoin.
Well, the day that happens is the day that the Bitcoin algorithm and cryptography gets cracked, and as soon as the rest of the world has all of their stuff, their money tied up in Bitcoin, that's the day someone says, oh, our supercomputer in Fort Meade just busted the cryptography, and before the guys can fork it and put out a brand new version of it, or not new version, but update the cryptography, the money, as they say, money gone. So I don't think the risk managers will, even if the print says we need to do this, or what's his name, Prince Solomon or whatever, the MBS. Even if he says do it, the risk manager is going to come back and say, that's a bad plan. A chunk, okay. But they still have to sell that stuff. They have to pay bills. They have an enormous amount of invoices they need to pay every month. Not just for, the oil industry, and, the states support it. Even though Aramco is a public company, it's still essentially a state-supported company. But they have huge families to pay. I think, what was the term? 33% of Saudi citizens, something like that, are supported by the government financially. And I think there's like 15 million expats in the country, something like that, working the fields, and they got to get paid. And not all of them are getting paid out of the public company Aramco, which has oil income. I got to tell you, I worked over there a long time, and it's a very intricate house of cards, like any financial system, except the U.S. house of cards is this big, and it's lots of houses.
Yeah.
Middle East, they have each country has one house. Yeah. Cards, and when you pull the lower cards out, bad things happen. So, is it big news about them coming out and saying this? Yeah, of course. Do they want to put the screws to the U.S.? I don't think so. Behind the scenes, I don't think they want to put screws to the U.S. because they all have their money in the U.S. They all have their money in the U.S. dollar, and they all of them have investment bankers located in the U.S. A lot of their fortunes are tied up in this reserve currency that they want to go down. But what I see is a lot of chest pumping. Like, who can come out and say something bad about the U.S. because they all know we got Biden as the leader, and he's just a basket case. And it's not like Biden's going to come out and say anything. Well, you guys better shut your mouth, or we're going to do something. It's
he's nice grandpa.
Right, he's the nice grandpa, and all the other countries, they're like, well, Putin's not a great guy, but it's good to have him on our side for a little balance of power. And Z, we're gonna have let's keep Z in our back pocket too. So however you pronounce his name, and that's good. Yeah. So the more posturing these guys do, the better it looks. Because remember, all those Asian governments, they operate on saving face and how you look to the public, and then behind the scenes, unpublic diplomacy works. And so having these countries support their position of beat up on the U.S. is only a good thing for, Russia and China. I'm going to try and fix my camera here. I keep turning white.
It's really interesting to sit there and see what's actually going on in China, because he's at a point where, like, his top advisors are not even communicating and talking with him. They're afraid. I mean, there have been some real major issues happening in the nation, and he didn't even know, because he's literally alienated himself to where if you come and bring him bad news, or he's like,
shoot the messenger.
And then he alienate, and he also, any rivals that potentially could happen, right, who could rise up, and he's literally cut it off at the roots in many areas of China. So it's really interesting to see, like, if I'm Putin, or if I'm Saudi Arabia, and I see what's, and if we have this information as Americans, right, where we have our own analysts who go through and who pay attention to all of those things, they definitely do. You don't have the inside workers who literally communicate. I mean, much like the Battle of Waterloo with the Rothschilds, they knew before anybody else.
Yep.
These guys have wealth where they can pay, and they have insider information. So I know they know. So when they look at Xi, and they look at kind of what's going on with Putin, and we're talking about the, many of the Muslims, whether they're Shia or Sunni. I mean, because you have literally a Shiite connecting and shaking the hands with Putin, right? But then you also have the Sunnis who are literally, and this is Saudi Arabia, they're much more liberal.
Right.
And so it's like you have the groups almost vying for power. So the BRICS we might see China definitely lose power with the BRICS nations. But in the back end, you also have that C might drop off and turn into an A, for or U, for the UAE. So it's
true.
Really interesting.
All right, we got the BRICS will definitely become a topic du jour, which we will cover a lot this year. Yeah, but it's time for the second half of the show to start. But before we do that, in talking about what's coming up in 2024 and some predictions going on, and I don't mean price predictions and all. That's all of you thinking like, ooh, Striking's going to say that Bitcoin's going to be $100,000. No, just the predictions about what's going on in the market. But let me give you the 2-minute spiel about our sponsors. Kicking off 2024, proud to say that both of the partners of our current partners of DYOR Live are stuck with us for the year. Below our show sponsor here, Camuso CPA. You can't talk enough about that because it's that time of year where you got to do your taxes. Camuso CPA, and specifically Patrick Camuso, the CEO there, has formed a nice little company that does crypto accounting for you and crypto taxes. Not only will they help you get ready to file your taxes this year, but we all know that we've made some mistakes in the past. And they can go back from the time you first entered crypto and bring you up to speed in crypto. Pedro, I'm going to turn your mic off for 1 second. So remind me if I to turn it back on. So they can go back and get you caught up to date and potentially even amend or refile your taxes from the years past to get you in line. Because we all know, as I say here all the time, the IRS is the largest holder of chain analysis software. If so many licenses are able to give extras away to Ukraine. And they are running down the blockchain and linking everyone's accounts with your DeFi wallets. So get legal. And also I'd like to shout out to Audit Chain. Audit Chain, this is our second year now with Audit Chain. Audit Chain is just getting ready. I've been saying this for a while, but they're rework based on consumer and focus groups. They're reworking their front end to make it easier to use, and they'll be coming out this year with their basically their auditing protocol. And I never say it correctly because I'm not a financial assurance wizard and all that. But what they can do is they can go in and audit financial filings for anyone that files with the SEC or the European Union version or the UK version, and instantly get results to see if people have made mistakes, didn't include things. And if you, like any other tool of research, if you go back so far and work your way up, you can also tell if there's a malfeasance, fraud, or other types of stuff going on. It's a big deal. It's a disruptor technology, and thanks to all of our partners. And of course, we will have them on our shows late this year and talk more about that. And as always, if you are someone that's interested in sponsoring an actual quality show, not just the Yo Bros, then get in touch with Pedro and I, and hook you up. Anyway, for those of you on social media, as Pedro always says, Pedro, I got you back on now. Do it. Get out there and like it. Like our show. Follow. Comment. That helps the engagement, and it helps us with those sponsor guides that I was just talking about. So it helps us get, and not only that, it helps get the algorithm out and gets more eyeballs on Pedro and I, and also the other shows of on the DYOR Media Network. This 2024, my season 4 of Rugged, Ruined, and Wrecked is going to come out. We're going to have Carmen has got a couple of crypto chit chats that she's going to drop here, trickle out slowly also. And like I always say, if you're a creator that wants to include your content on our channel, just let us know. Let us know. Anyway, Pedro, it's time for 2024. And all of you chumbalones in the comment section, I want to hear what your predictions are too. But I've got a list from, I think it's Bitwise up here, of just some general topics that will probably spur some good conversation for us, talking about entering 2024 and what's going on. And the basic idea they're talking about, look, when crypto enters the mainstream, there's a whole new set of stuff going on. And so once mainstream happens, ETFs happen, And it kind of gets acceptance. You'll have fewer people at the Thanksgiving table going, so what is this crypto stuff? I heard it's just a scam, and that everybody's in it. It's just a scam. You'll have less than that. Less of that and more of things saying, hey, I heard Bitcoin is going to trade above $80,000, setting a new all-time high. I don't think anyone doubts that at some point this year, Pedro, we'll see a new all-time high.
Definitely.
You think?
I agree.
It's not we're not doing price predictions. Don't listen to us complain when it didn't do that. But I think I think it'll go up above 80,000 at some point this year.
I think 80,000 is shy. I think 80,000 is easily shy. I think us going above 80,000 would be, it would be a shame if it didn't, because that means that it's really being manipulated with the amount of demand for Bitcoin around the world. We're talking countries. We're not talking like individual, like we're talking countries, sovereign wealth funds. We're talking, then there's real manipulation happening, and that's a sad thing, right? That means did Bitcoin lose its sovereignty? Are the banks really in this, and we've lost power? So it's a hard thing to say, right? Like for me, but it's a reality. Like if that does happen and we don't get above where I'm expecting it, I truly believe that there's been major manipulation.
I don't know which version of. I guess you can kind of see it on my screen here, just the long-term BTC chart, and I mean this chart says, "Hey, I'm going up." That's what this chart says.
Yeah.
That's what that chart says. All right, what's next? Where is my arrow? There we go. Spot Bitcoin ETFs will be approved, and collectively they will be the most successful ETF launch of all time. This is a prediction of Bitwise, and there's a couple of groups here that have published. I know that the text is really crap here. I tried to make it better to read. But they're projecting $72 billion put into ETFs upon their launch. That's Bitwise. Crypto Quant is saying 155 billion. Bloomberg 100 billion. Galaxy Digital 80 billion. Alliance Bernstein 75 billion. Yada yada yada. And all of especially Bloomberg, they all have good connections with people inside the trading houses and things like that. And so their intelligence is usually pretty close when people are saying, yeah, I've got clients that want to put a couple of billion into it and that type of stuff. So, 72 billion in Bitcoin isn't that big right now because of, we're at $890 billion in market cap. Another 72 billion isn't a lot. But if it comes in a short period of time, that will create a lot of FOMO. That's for sure. And depending on when it comes, Pedro, it could kick us through a resistance level. You never know with those type of things. So, that was an easy one to predict on behalf of these guys that it'll will be approved and there'll be a successful ETF launch. Now that doesn't mean everybody. Let's be the naysayer here, Pedro.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that the ETFs, especially the JP Morgan one, they can create iShares, because remember they trade publicly on NASDAQ through the iShares.
Yep.
They can create more iShares than there are people buying into their thing. So they can short sell. Like, for instance, if they want, they don't want to obviously trade against their clients. But they could tell their clients, hey, look, we're going to be trying to get the best prices for everybody, not just your price today, and what your price is tomorrow. We want the best long-term, best 5-year, 10-year, 20-year average. So that would allow them to effectively say, all right, we know you invested in our ETF at $50,000, but we're going to try and short sell the market and push the BTC price down to $30,000. And then the clients would be like, oh, you're trading against us. And they'll be like, no, because we're trying to get that net asset value, or whatever they call it in ETFs, up. So we want to get it down to 30,000, load up on more, and then push it up, and you'll make even more money. So they have the ability to manipulate the market. And if you get a bunch of ETFs out there, especially when if they see a sudden market downturn, these guys can suddenly create, like, say something bad happens, a major country's currency fails, or an unknown war breaks out, and all of a sudden people start pulling tons of money out of the market, including Bitcoin. These guys could actually sell the market to zero. Maybe not to zero, but they could generate 1 million more ETF shares and just dump them on the market, trying to pull as much cash out of the market as possible. So is it likely? No. But is it possible? You're darn right it is. And we found in crypto, anything that's possible does seem to come true. So the ETF thing isn't necessarily a total bonus. Could be a boner. Hey, you wanted the humor. You got it. Okay, let's see the next prediction for 2024. Coinbase's revenue will double, beating Wall Street's expectations by at least 10x.
I would agree. Who's the one that's managing and holding the Bitcoin for all the ETFs?
Yep. Wall Street expects Coinbase's revenue to grow 9% year over year from $2.8 billion to $3.1 billion. That's way too conservative. We think that'll double at least. Here's what Wall Street is missing. First, the bull market. Bitcoin is up 128% this year. Trading volumes spike in bull markets, and we expect to see that again. That's beneficial to Coinbase. Second, innovation. Coinbase has launched a wide array of new products, perpetual futures, regulated U.S. futures contracts, new layer 2 blockchain base. Third, ETFs. Coinbase is positioned to be the primary custodian for the most Bitcoin ETFs, providing another catalyst for the firm. Well, I think they're right.
So my question is this, right? I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. I keep thinking here, if we see a sell-off, right? Because like you said, they can short against their shares, right?
Right.
I could see this 32,000-ish area right here to the 30,000.
We can't see your charts right now. I've got the...
Oh, yeah. I potentially, with all this good news... I almost forgot.
I'll put your chart back up.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention this, and this is one thing I want to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Cramer is bullish on BTC.
Here, I've got it up on the screen now. Here, Justin Cramer says you can't kill Bitcoin and it's here to stay. And the comments under that are like, sell.
That is exactly what I'm. And honestly, Kathy Wood selling off what she did.
I know. That's a harbinger.
Like, is this really the like I always say, they need to create the wick. They need to create the wick for the year. Now, I was obviously wrong about last year. I expected to see it to come down. We did start to come down, but Michael Saylor, man, was like the perma bull, man. He's like, nah, this ain't dropping again. So respect to Michael Saylor. But the reality is they still got to put, and that would be a 10,000 point wick. That's a respectable wick.
That is a respectable wick. You're right.
It sounds weird.
Coinbase's stock went up a bazillion percent. What was it, 350% in the past year anyway? So they're obviously directly benefiting from a bull market. And not just a little bit, hugely. And I bet you're going to see, because of that, you're going to see a rush for other exchanges to get legal and be a proper operating exchange in the U.S. Even though in the eyes of the SEC, Coinbase is still not a proper exchange. On one hand, SEC is still saying, well, in 2018 and 19, you traded me illegally. You guys are evil. On the other hand, the SEC is like, yeah, you guys are the custodian for all this because you're the only ones we can trust, and you've got a sharing agreement, data sharing agreement, so we can see all the trades and make sure nobody's manipulating anything. All right, this is the next topic, Pedro. This is a controversial one because it's a big move of power. More money will settle using stable coins than using Visa. Now, if you think about that, the Visa settles, I don't know, Visa payments versus not stable coin. Visa's, I don't even know, 12 trillion in...
So they do about 20,000 daily transactions around the world, right? That's what Visa does.
It's got to be like 20 million. It can't be 20,000 or 200 million.
20,000 a second.
Yeah, maybe that's right. 20, something like that, right?
That's what I said. 20,000 a second.
Right.
Typically, is what they typically do around the world. They typically do. I forget the exact amount a year. But the only reason why I say that is because the project that I'm working with, right, has everything to do with what they're doing, and so it's really interesting that there are many projects out there in crypto that are actually more efficient and better at transacting around the world and actually sending money quickly, right? Where the ledger actually has real transfer versus what Visa does. And so this is multiple blockchains that actually set this up. So on the back end, I mean, if they haven't, I just don't understand. If is Visa going to go the way of the um, Codex? You think, or you think they'll step it up?
Well, my opinion is mirrored here by Space Cat here. You will see Visa and MasterCard make their own stable coin that will attach to their card. May not be their own full-on stable coin because they have to take in that amount of cash and keep it, whereas Visa and MasterCard take in tremendous amounts of money, but they put it out right away. And so they might partner with another organization or come up with a group stable coin, the credit coin or something like that. My knowledge of that market is not that great, but I do know that MasterCard has been pivoting for a long time, and I bet you Visa has too, has been pivoting into technology, into security, into other financial products because the banks did a really dumb thing. And we spoke about this before. They sold off Visa and MasterCard. The banks used to own them as like a partnership. And it was a gravy train for them. And the banks got greedy. The bank managers, bank executives got greedy and said, hey, if we spin these companies off, we can see a huge windfall and take home a big paycheck this Christmas. And they did that. And what they did is they sold off two companies that will likely be part of banks' demise in the future. Or at least maybe not in the demise, but in a complete changing of the guard in importance. Because whoever has access to the cash and the clients in any industry is usually the winner. And obviously the banks have the access to the industrial clients. But who has the access to the retail clients every day and 20,000 times a second? Who is that? Visa.
Visa, MasterCard, and I'll put it in like this, and I guess we're both on the same level here. I mean, I know that Visa as well as MasterCard both are looking. I mean, it would be foolish of them not to, know, because from a purely logical standpoint, like because this is the reason why Visa is worldwide. They're not just, yes, they make a lot of money here in the U.S., right? Because the cost of money making here is much more, or not the cost of money making, but the profitability here is at a higher level. But because it's, they're based off a percentage level, right? So every time you swipe that card, it's, 1 to 3% or, whatever it'd be that they're cutting through. So obviously the U.S. dollar, especially where I live, cost of living here is stupid. So the reality is that you're having a high percentage. But as things start to transition, it's a wiser bet for Visa and MasterCard. I probably have lost more money in the banks through fees than I have in crypto. Think about that.
You got that right. Get rug pulled every month. I get rug pulled by the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The taxman, and the fees by the bank. So it's really interesting becoming my own bank and then using, let's say, Visa to onboard cash. Say, hey, let me borrow some cash, right? So I can, and then just quickly transfer them from my wallet to their wallet, which would make it so much easier. It's just real interesting. Really interesting.
Hold on, I'm putting a little question up to people. What are your 2024 predictions?
And to throw this out as well, JP Morgan is one of those companies that literally run I want to say run, that's wrong, but the Fed. Like JP Morgan, when you say the Fed pays people, right? Even though they don't have individual people that they pay the banks that are in that cohort, right, that lend them money back and forth. So they have to pay interest on the money, that $8 trillion that I brought up, right? Or I think it was like whatever the Fed balance sheet
Right.
is. They have to lend that money from somebody. They have to pull it, and they pull it from the banks. And so it's really interesting to see JP Morgan, Mr. Diamond, sitting there talking about how he hates crypto out of one mouth, but yet his entity itself is literally setting up tokenizations of real assets. So that's crazy. That's the BS out of all of this is just I don't even understand.
Here's a good number. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just the talking out of when he's sitting in front of Elizabeth Warren and he's saying crypto's bad, you should ban it. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're spending billions setting this all up. Right. And here's a good headline: J.P. Morgan will tokenize a fund and launch it on chain as Wall Street gears up to tokenize real world assets. In the fine print here, it says currently there's 5.5 billion of real world assets, commodities, equity, real estate, etc. It's been tokenized on blockchains. The Global Financial Markets Association, which I should do some more research on, see if they're an independent group or what their story is, projects that number will grow to 16 trillion by 2030. Now, let's get this straight, Pedro. If the real world assets part are 16 trillion.
Just call me The Rock.
Wait, what's the whole market cap of crypto then? Right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Good point. Yes. Good point. Actually, and here's the thing. Because we're talking inflated money, right? It's still that amount of money. And I want to add that because people say, well, that's not really the real amount. It's still money going in. All right. It's still going in 16. And so when you sit there and look at right now, we're sitting at $2 trillion market cap when it comes to Bitcoin, right? Or 1.7 trillion, at least what we're seeing. And that doesn't hold off like the DeFi projects and stuff like that correlate with that. But let's just say 1.7, just for the accurate number. We're talking that is a 15x, or not 15. Yeah, I would say even more because it's all demand. It's all demand.
Right. Exactly.
That's
right. Exactly. And even if that's 16 trillion they're talking about, there's not, that represents the value of the assets, but the tokenized value is less. It's still a ton of real assets coming in, not just people's, monopoly money as you want to talk about it, but real hard assets that are tradable and now very liquid coming into the blockchain world and crypto world. And so if you just think about it, if you have an investment portfolio like an institutional house in which you trade on the market cap of the market. There's a couple of things you can do to basically trade the market cap. And if all these assets come in, that market cap is only going up. Bitcoin could waver and come down a little bit. A couple of the big coins could, but however the blockchains are that this graph is representing here, the total market cap will be going up. And so, it's whatever fund you're investing. I'm not going to tell you how to invest in anything, but whatever fund you're invested in, ask them the hard questions and say, how are you going to be allocating the resources in this upcoming changeover of the digital economy? So make sure you ask that stuff. Make sure you ask it of your anybody that you trust. Don't ask Peter. I don't know why I'm calling you Peter again. I was just talking to a guy named Peter.
Just call me The Rock. Just call me The Rock.
The Rock. The Rock. Just striking in The Rock. Wait, The Rock's already taken. That guy's going to be unhappy with you.
I don't. I will always. He'll always overshadow me, bro. Like there's no. I mean, who knows? I might one day be like, because Peter means rock in Greek or whatever. Okay, I'm just being funny.
All right. Okay. What's next here? So yes, real world assets going to kick it this year. Ethereum revenue will more than double to $5 billion as users flock to crypto applications. Now, this could be a controversial one. Ethereum there's always two sides of the ETH argument every day. ETH is great. It's the best thing ever. ETH sucks. It's too restrictive. It's too slow, yada, yada, yada. Yet, it's not like it ever dies, right? So one common criticism of blockchains is they don't have cash flow. But the critics are wrong. It says it right here. It's true that Bitcoin doesn't generate cash flow in the traditional sense, but blockchains like Ethereum do. Ethereum functions like a global supercomputer hosting thousands of crypto applications that people use every day, and in order to use those applications, you have to pay a fee using the ETH asset. That's cash flow. In 2023, users will pay $2.3 billion in fees. Think about that. To use the Ethereum network. We think that this will at least double in 2024 as crypto apps go mainstream, making Ethereum one of the fastest growing large-scale tech platforms in the world. And here's their revenue sharing since 2019. Obviously, in bull markets and in high trading times like 2021, boom. Yep. 2023, bust. 2024 estimate is already growing like crazy.
What's interesting is I love how these cycles work as well. Because the reality is, let's say we have another bear market. I don't know if we will or we won't. I hope we do. And it sounds horrible, right, to sit there and say, I hope we have another bear market. But because what is it? It settles in and out well, right? It allows it helps the I would say inflammation. It kind of is the inflammation of buyers and the FOMO people, right, where they sell off. But the sell off allows people to sit there. If let's say you're poor, right, and let's say when I say that, I mean everybody in America. I don't care if you're a homeless guy. You're rich in comparative to the rest of the world. So, right, like our poor people poop in clean water majority of the time. If you want to. I'll put it like that. Okay. You have access to homeless shelters and places like that will literally, if you're willing and want to get up and get going, you can. Where in many places in third world countries, you don't have access to that. So it's very harsh. And so, but somebody who, let's say, wants to get going, right? Those sell-offs allow them to be able to get in if they, if they want to take money and they're able to put in at a bear market. They could potentially be within 2-3 markets, millionaires and at another level within 10 years versus a lifetime of work. Right. So this is what I mean by that. So that's why I do like the fact that you have these sell-offs, right? I'm glad because I was able to get a bunch of stuff within the crypto market because of the sell-off. So I don't know. I'm mixed. What are your thoughts?
No, my thoughts are moving on to the next topic, and that is Taylor Swift will launch NFTs to connect with fans in new ways, and I think this one's very valid and not just clickbait. Because if you recall on our show earlier in the year, we had a guy named Jeremy Williams from Aspen, something. I'm sorry, Jeremy, I can't remember the name of your company completely, in which they make NFTs for the music industry and basically any creative industry, and it's probably what's leading this title here. And it's not just a picture. What it is, it's the right to something. It's the right to buy tickets. It's the right to buy T-shirts at a certain price. It's all these types of things. The right to songs, like you can NFT all these songs, and if you have an NFT in a wallet, your music player will play the song for you. And then you can trade them with friends or sell them to friends and stuff like that. It's one of the things that very few people realize is that Spotify, Rhapsody, Apple Music, Google Play Music, all this type of stuff, what they do is they are a firewall between the fans and the artists. They don't share that information, who downloaded their information, give me the emails of the people, all that type of stuff. Spotify's like, no, this is our information. And so the artists don't get that. It's different for Taylor Swift and large, obviously popular people because they have huge communities. They have websites that have 20 million members, and they get access to their customer base in a roundabout way. But for most of the bands out there, or artists, are small. And they have to go through small record companies or self-launch, and they don't have a good way to connect who their fans are. If you're selling your songs via NFTs to everybody, you have a direct connection, whoever owns your song. And if you sell it to me, like, I really like this new Pedro Garcia song, and then I get tired, I'm like, Pedro sucks now. I can sell that, and then once I've sold it, Pedro knows that I no longer like his music, but the person I sold it to does. And so he still has connections to his active listeners. It's not like, we've sold 20 million albums in the past, but 19 million of them are sitting in your mom's basement, and they only have 1 million people actually listening to them. They can tell, and especially if you have a player that's to check a wallet for an NFT, they can tell. So I've got 15 million of these people still listening to these songs, and they're active, and you can market to them. It really is. Once they really get it over the edge of, they're not going to call them NFTs. They'll have to call them something else, Fan Connect or something, and it will work. It will work well. Pedro, I know this is a big one that you've been talking about a lot. AI assistants will start using crypto to pay for things online, affirming crypto as the native currency of the internet. And AI is growing, and AI assistants are going to be growing as well. And they'll say, I need, you'll tell your AI assistant, every week buy me a package of toilet paper and have it sent here and pay for it in a stablecoin, and it'll happen.
Well, what's interesting is I almost feel like with Elon Musk setting up the cyborg institution, i.e. Neuralink, that is going to be one of those entries where I think you'll have stable coins that will go through and interact with AI devices. And as I was listening to a guy. He's really just, I love this guy. My goal is hopefully to get him on here. I've been trying to. It's coming on my show. He's like, dude, you're a weirdo. Leave me alone. But I keep bringing in real conversations with them, and he's like, that's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know, right? So, I always figure, ask real questions and get real answers. And people really respond well to that. But so I was listening to him, and one of the things he brings up, and this is really huge on when it comes to AI. Right now, we do not have an AGI. And that is huge. Because
explain that for our viewers.
Oh, I'm sorry. General intelligence,
right.
Meaning we do not have a conscious we don't have a sentient AI. Okay, all that we have right now is literally just an AI that is input in, input out, and it's creating its own avenue to be able to decipher the input. But that was, and again, we don't know if that's maybe the starting of consciousness with AI, but it is starting to create things on its own. But it's only because we've said, try to create this. If we've given it leeway to create, and so it's found boundaries to do it, but it's still within our coaching of it doing, and it's given information. If we, let's say within the next 5 to 10 years, create a real AGI, and we have neural implants where we can communicate and talk with it, it's as simple as I tell my brain, I'm like, hey, think to yourself, hey, go buy this and exchange it with XYZ. That cuts the entry into crypto like that. Our biggest issue right now is that there's too many steps, and so mom, grandpa, and grandpa has a hard time getting in unless you really understand the way certain things work in tech. It's really hard for them. If that kicks in, the entry, the gateway into crypto would be simple because it already does. Sorry, you got me going, and you said this, and so I was just like, yeah, people don't even know, but I agree with that. Native currencies for AI would be very much one of the things that we see actually kick in. I don't know if it would be this year. I really don't think so, because people still don't want to even use just a trust wallet. You know what I'm saying? People would rather go through crypto.com or Coinbase. They still want to go through a central exchange because they need to be able to blame somebody. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, go ahead. You're on mute.
Thanks. I got to say, if they are successful in hooking Neuralink up in your brain to your crypto wallet, bad things are going to happen. You're gonna think something when you're kind of nodding off or something like that, and then the guy will knock on the door delivering something, or it's like, we
all have dreams,
right? You'll be sitting there watching your football team lose, and you're like, damn it. And then all of a sudden the guy from the liquor store will show up with a bottle of Jack Daniels, and you're like, wow, that's amazing.
How'd you know?
I
know. Possibly, but then obviously there's gonna be safeguards. I do like Elon Musk. I do. A lot of people, he has a lot of haters, but I'm pro Elon. I mean, and Kathy Wood as well. So I mean, hey, what's up?
All right, they're also saying that Ethereum, and we hear this every year, major upgrade will drive the average transaction cost below a penny, paving the way for more mainstream users. If that were to happen, that would be an enormous deal for Ethereum. If they could actually pull an upgrade off in which they could do that, and then it basically would kill most Ethereum level 2 blockchains. Most of them exist just to be cheaper and have a better price, and some of them have a utility that will survive no matter what. But if Ethereum does do that, then they got a good thing going. That being said, let's take the other side of that argument. Why would they want to do that if everything is going well and they're making billions?
Yes, that's my question.
It's less trouble for them to clear, 10,000 transactions a day at a good margin than it is to clear 1 billion transactions a day at a very small margin. I mean, that in every business you want that. You want to do less work for more money, and you'll have a better. It's just life is easier when you have to do less. You have to worry about less. Fewer things break. Fewer people you have to deal with. And if they're clearing 1 billion transactions a day and something breaks, then they have a lot of people calling them. SpaceCat says Ethereum will never be cheap. Well, if they get the costs down, the gas costs, they could be cheap. But like I said, what's their actual incentive to do that? Especially if they have all these level 2 blockchains, just like the little fish that swim alongside the shark and eat all the little things that the shark misses.
Yeah, it's too much money.
Yeah. All right. That's an interesting one. It'll be good to pay attention to that one and circle around that next year.
You know what I feel about this, though, and this is really interesting for me? I feel like Ethereum or Vitalik is really a lot like Elon Musk. That really, shows, he says, oh, we're going to do this, and it's like, all right, 5 years later. And you're like, well, we made some progress, but it's not what you said it would be. So it almost feels like he's taking a handbook from Elon there.
Yeah. All right, here's a good one. 1 in 4 financial advisors will allocate to crypto in client accounts by the end of 2024. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
I don't think 2024, but I think 2028. Because I still think it's the barrier of entry, or at least through the ETFs. Through the ETFs, yes. Yep. But through an actual wallet, like a smart wallet.
Yeah, let's not forget how long it takes things to work their way through companies, especially companies that manage risk. It's not like, oh, it's a new product, let's do it. They evaluate it. They have legal go over it. They have focus groups. They have, they do a sandbox trading of it for a while to see what can go wrong. If their internal systems can handle it. I mean, none of these companies have systems that can handle crypto. I mean, the amount of money they're going to have to spend upgrading their systems to reprogram to handle crypto is going to be, a lot. Unless it's just all in iShares, that's a NASDAQ traded thing. That'll be easy. But, accounting systems, just the basic, basic accounting systems, even the expensive ones like SAP and stuff like that, are creaking trying to deal with crypto. Never mind all the trading houses' internal software. The wide acceptance on that will be mentally before it's able to happen, I think.
Well, and let me also add this too as well. I think in the next 8 years, very much as Gen Z really starts to enter into the workforce. I mean, the oldest of Gen Z is 26. So, as more and more come, I mean, they're very into crypto. Whereas we're both Generation Xers, right? And Ys, we're there. But Gen Z, and they've been so. It would be stupid for them not to have some form as they move into the workforce and really start to get going. Where they now, they want to put money into the market. They start looking to the future. So if a lot of the clearinghouses don't offer some form of crypto exposure in their 401ks, in their type of investments, it would be silly, because then also that's just money that it's not. But I don't see it by 2024. But I do see it probably by 2028 or 32. Definitely.
All right, so SpaceCat said, let's see, a prediction: you will see a new blockchain emerge that will revolutionize the crypto space. That's a big That's a big call there, Space. There's a lot of blockchains out there. There's thousands of them. In order for a new one to come out, it's got to have instant wide acceptance, not just DeFi acceptance or something like that, but it's got to be something like where JP Morgan says we're opening our blockchain either to the public or to have a public one that will have a bridge to our internal systems, but it's permissioned. Then that could explode and change the market. But there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there. How do you think that's right, Pedro? Talk to me, Goose.
All right. This is the reason why. All right. One, there's some great. I mean, I look at blockchains. And I read white papers all the time. It's almost like my pastime. And I've read some ones that are literally that are interacting and have connections with major. And there's a lot of underground connections that are happening where, you have these blockchains that are doing 30, 40, 60, 80,000 transactions in a second. And then additionally to that, they're in talks with major banks and or credit providers that it's only a matter of time. I mean, it would be silly for that not to happen. And right now we have a lot of blockchains that are fat and happy right now. They're, as Elon Musk says, if you read it like his biography, one of these things is people are too rich, right? Many of his workers became too rich, right? And so he's like, I had to fire you because you don't have a drive anymore, right? Like one thing that's beautiful about Elon is that he's not driven by money. He's the richest man in the world, but he's not driven by the money. He's driven. He wants to get the population of or humanity a multi-planet species. Like he's driven like a madman. A lot of these layer 2, layer 3s literally are set up in where they're already fat. They're happy. They're Ethereum by Vitalik is literally a billionaire, and it's many times over. So he's not he's a Kodak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it. I think what they can do is they can do 20 a second, right? 20 or 30 a second.
What, Kaz? No,
yeah,
that's thousands.
No, I'm not talking Kaz. I'm talking Ethereum transaction wise.
Oh, sorry, Ethereum.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know what it is. I know it's low. It's in the the 10. It's like
because Bitcoin's 4, or not 4, but it's very small in comparative to a lot of these new ones are out there, and it's just a matter of time before one comes out and just is like dynamite. And as much as I do, dude, DeFi is quick, and the beautiful part about DeFi is that it is literally your neighbor across the street, your cousin who's a nerd,
right?
And it's like that community. It's ground roots. And so if there comes a system where it's like, oh, what is this? And then your neighbor comes up, and now everybody understands how quickly money can move in crypto. I mean, people are very keen on it. So all of a sudden, it starts to catch. I mean, look at the Helium network with their miners, right? Like it exploded into a multi-level marketing scheme, and literally the
Amway of crypto.
But it's not. Here's the thing: their Amway company's ID, and IE. It wasn't H&T. It was just people saw that and said we can create like a type of Amway,
right?
Underneath, it wasn't H&T itself, right? H&T actually got pissed, but they said, you know what? If they're gonna get our stuff out there, cool. Within 3 months, almost 1 billion people signed up for an actual miner. So this is the difference where if you come up with another blockchain that is a killer blockchain, and then it can spread within 3 to 6 months versus taking 20 years to build.
Right. Well, we'll see. We'll see, Pedro. Yeah. I have a graphic on the screen here that is impossible to read. But what it is it's a summary. My friend Anton Golub posted this on Twitter and on LinkedIn. And you don't have to understand the categories or anything, but what it is, this is a bunch of different groups. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different groups and their predictions and where they see the crypto going, the digital economy going in 2024. And over here on this side are all the different potential topics, and the boxes in the middle are filled out where each report summarized it. And I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, I'll take a look at this report and see where everyone agrees. And there really isn't anywhere except maybe this category here, games, that a lot of people agree on. Like like only 3 people talked about Ether. Half of them talked about, 6 out of 10 talked about BTC. 2 talked about privacy. That concerns me, that privacy is still taking a back seat. And trading, 6 of them talked about that. So you can still see that it's a good thing to think when we talk about predictions for the new year. Is that the people whose job it is, it's not Pedro's and I's job to predict the future here, although we'd like to, because then we'd be extremely wealthy. But the people whose job it is to predict the future for their client base can't even really agree on much at all. So each one has very different views in what they put out to the public. Now, maybe they're obviously everyone pushes their own agenda. So if someone with a big viewer base or big client base because we want to focus on these in the year, and then they predict those things, that's one thing. But here, when we aggregate all of these sources of stuff for the new year, and they don't really agree anywhere. It's not like all of them said this. These 5 topics are going to be awesome. Their opinions are very widespread, pretty much like in anything in investing. And so as we get to the end of the show here, the predictions that we'll have time next year to go back and look at this and see what's going on with our predictions here, and with the help of Bitwise and stuff and our viewers. That maybe we can plug some things in here and see how we did compared to, as I say, the money wizards. So that's going to be an interesting year, that's for sure, Pedro. That it's gonna be really damn for sure.
My biggest thing is I don't think anybody's really talking about this, right? Is potential new upsetting, and we think we've almost I heard Bankless talk about, pretty much the scope of crypto is kind of we've found the sectors, and I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to explode. Even Peter was talking about how you need to make, he's like, listen, I don't see anything. The thing is that people are just going to have to become more efficient, and I don't think that's true. I think when Space Cat was talking about how there's going to be a new blockchain emerge, I think there's going to be also new emergent markets that are going to, besides gaming, right? I know of a few stuff where emerging markets could go through that I've thought about that aren't in crypto yet. And so, it's one of those things that I'm just shocked how nobody talked about what other emerging markets potentially could be coming out. And so it's going to be something that I feel as if that it's coming, and I don't know what it is, but my ear is close to the DeFi world, right? And I've got my ear to the train tracks. So something's coming. I feel it.
All right, Pedro, we only have about 5 minutes left here. We talked mostly about predictions for the future in 2024 and that type of stuff, but everyone wants to see a little TNA. I got your chart back up. Let's do 5 minutes of some of the usual things that we talk about here on the show.
So let's talk Ethereum. Ethereum is looking about the same as Bitcoin, but we did not put that extra high in. We have not come to that moving at or the monthly supply area. So we're still going sideways, which is still kind of nice if you want to get into Ethereum. Some of the places that I'm looking at is that 1700, 1750 area. Is a nice little place of retracement back. It's crazy. That's 1,000 points or close. Was it 800 points, 700 points? But
yep.
It's just the next area that we could see it come back down to. Second area that I think you want to see, maybe consider the short, is when we reach that 2,700, 2,900 area. That's a nice area there that I can see buyers kind of taking profit and then literally seeing a nice little sell off again from there. So if you're looking to short, that'd be one of the places. Let's talk about Solana, man, it had a little bit of a sell-off here. Came right up to the supply zone that we have right here. Did a little bit of a sell-off and finding base at here. And this was a previous high, which has now become a previous something that was supply is now demand. So I would sit there. It's finding little demand here, which is nice. Potentially, we could see Solana here ranging for a bit until really like good news come out again about them. But if it does sell off, I could sit there and see it come down to this 95. And then the next spot area that I could sit there and see is that 52, 54 area here. Let's go ahead and check out Tron here. Tron is again looking sideways. I've been looking at Tron because Justin Sun is doing some good stuff. It's looking like it's going to actually start to break out here. We're seeing a bunch of green over the past couple days, and it's really kind of just looking like it's getting ready to kind of get going. So it's really interesting to see what's happening with Tron. Go Justin Sun, man. I'm impressed with that, man. You're doing it looks like you're doing a decent job. All right. I haven't gone to the details. Let's check out Matic here real quick. Matic here is looking pretty nice. We're doing a little consolidation here at this point. We're staying above that 8-period moving average. The week of all the moving average on the weekly and the monthly are below it. So again, it really has no resistance until we actually get up to the $1.56 and $1.29. And right now we're sitting at 98 cents here. From a down perspective, we could slip down. We do have a sell-off here with Matic. Again, I see is coming back down, at least down to this base of 74 cents area. And then the next spot potentially could, and you know, like I said, if we start to have a good sell-off, it could get to that 65 and 73 cent area here. Let's check out Shiba Doge. And
Shiba Inu, Shibarium.
Zach Inu, or
Zach Humphreys.
Zach Humphreys.
Austin Hilton.
Yeah, what up, dudes? You guys can see here. It's funny, part of the algorithm. That's so funny. But like in the same sense, like you can see right here, we're sitting at $50 for AVAX. It actually did a nice little sell-off at our supply zone. I do see if it does continue down, we are coming into this junction point where the A and 20 are crossing. So if you're a trader, you know that it's like the death cross there. And we're putting a nice little shooting star there. So potentially, if this does come down, look to catch the AVAX down at like that $22 mark area, and potentially down to the $11 mark area. Look, I want to give you guys targets, and if you happen to catch the first target, you know you're sitting in the pretty. Okay. If we do decide to push back up here, the next supply zone here is going to be that $58 into $69. This is a monthly zone, so it might take a while for us to really get through this. All right, so make sure you guys are paying attention to that. The other part behind it, and we did Shiba. Oh, Kaz, check out Kaz here real quick.
I brought up the watch list over here too,
yes.
Which has got Kaz on it. Kaz is
Feta. Yes, Kaz. So you can see here, guys, we had the nice little sell-off up here when I was calling the short. It did say, look, and do we have
what is the trading price of Kaz right now? Okay, 11 cents. All right,
so we're quick. Do you have, this is not financial advice. Oh, just so everybody know, this is not financial advice.
It's running.
This is for, all right, perfect. As I'm looking here, as you guys can sit there and see that we sold off at that 15 cent mark area, came back down to about the 9 cent mark, and we're kind of looking like we're starting to push up. And now on these red days, we didn't see a lot of volume. Okay, we didn't see a lot of volume on these big red days. Now, granted, this is during the holidays, right? We had a little push up during December 23rd, but now we're kind of going sideways. If we do see a sell-off, which might not, so I want to bring this up because we are starting to find some support right here on that 8-period moving average. We have a doji sitting here today, and yesterday on the new year, we definitely did come up and put in a little bit of volume here. Now, I would want to have seen much more volume on this green candle. The fact that we didn't is making me more bearish, but I always got to give you two terms, right? Which way we're going to move, either up or down. So this is really important to pay attention to when it comes to CAS. If we see CAS step in with much more higher volume on the short day, we should then see it come back down to that 9-cent mark and potentially 7-cent mark. So I was talking about how a good spot to actually start your start your bag fill is at that 11-cent mark area, and then the next would have been that 7-cent mark, and then the one after that I see is the 4-cent mark. So these are just certain aspects that I'm looking at. If we do rally from here, you want to wait for a pullback into the 8 period, because you can already see that we're really following it when we see it come through. And this is the daily 8 period moving average. You can see how we're starting. We did put in a golden cross here where we saw the 8 period cross over the 20 period moving average. So we're now starting to see it push up. What's up, Carmen? How you doing? It's good to see you.
Carmen, you ain't got no sound because I left my Stream Deck device in Chicago, and so I didn't bother setting up alternative ways. So no sparkle for you today. But welcome, Carmen. Thanks for tuning in and joining us.
Definitely. So CAS, and then the next one I've been looking at, and I brought this up earlier, or I brought a few of them up. So let's bring up Crow and ICP. But we'll check that out in a second. Where is Crow? Crow. And so Crow here is starting to really base here. Is this accumulation, or is this going to push up? I do see Crow going up at least.
That looks like a good flag there.
Yeah, it does. It does, exactly. Nice little consolidation. But personally, I think they set these up so that they can mess with people. So I can see this go up a little, sell off, then go up, right? So they really screw you on both ways, right? So without any lube. Forgive the pun. So, from here,
awful dry.
So in the same sense, though, as I see, we are seeing some buyers starting to step in at these levels, especially on the first and second of the year. So that's a good sign. But again, if it goes up first in the beginning of the week, what will it most likely do? Sell off at the end of the week. So somebody paying attention. ICP here. ICP's been really interesting throughout this whole entire. That's what she said. Anyway, sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. It literally came out.
Getting silly in this new year.
Getting silly up in here. All right. So when it comes to ICP, so I've been paying attention to them, right? Like, I'm all into the internet stuff and anything that has to do with AI. I'm definitely paying attention to and what's going on. Now, this is kind of one of them. I actually stumbled onto this on my Crow, right? When I was looking at Crow and a couple other things, and then I stepped in and I was like, what is ICP? Boom. And I started doing something. I was like, oh, this place is top. So, right. So you can see how this works. A lot of times when you have a little cup and handle, boom, we see it push up, right? This right here, this level right here was really interesting to me because I didn't see a lot of volume here, but yet they were definitely accumulating at these levels here, as you can see, right? What set it off for me is when I saw this part right here where we saw it shoot up right here and come down with low volume at these levels.
Here, where I have it circled?
Yes, as you can see down here, okay? So ICP is putting up the same type of, we see a cup and handle, right? Boom, coming up, shoots up. You can see how we saw that volume step in, okay? I see it here at the same level, right? It's the same thing. We saw it push up, right, in the same level. So for me, people understand, and these guys, their all-time high literally is sitting at around 630. So at $14, like I look at that going like, dude, that's a pretty baby, right? So you still got at least 20x, 30x on this that potentially could be sitting at $14, which is really a decent, okay deal. Now, are they going to get to the all-time high? I don't know. Like everything's, I don't know, right? Like I don't know.
All right, Pedro, let's wrap this one up.
All right, so that's it in a nutshell. We can check out Litecoin if that's something you guys would want.
Yeah, you can give us a quick Litecoin here. What I always like to point out with Litecoin, they had their halving this year, and it didn't do anything. Just in fact, the volume dropped off right about where their halving was, right?
So with that, you can see here that it shot up a little and came back down. So Litecoin is still kind of going sideways, but in the same sense, they had a big push of volume. Okay, right here. Litecoin had a huge push in volume sitting on the first of the year. Okay, so to me, when I see something like that screams to me of institutions, right? Institutions are getting in, a bunch of buying, and they kept the order flow equal. Buying and sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. So that type of volume with that push up is an indication of basically them coming in. They let it go sideways here, right? To potentially push this up to this next level of the 114 area here. And I'll put that in. It's on my other chart.
All right.
But that's in a nutshell. I wanted to point those out here for you guys, so to give you heads up.
All right. Pedro, I got.
Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello from the other side.
That's terrible. It's not having my stream deck is a real pain in the old ass here.
Dude, you're telling me I don't have a beautiful voice like like why am I forgetting her name?
Mariah Carey?
No, not Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey. That's funny.
That's Jim Carrey's daughter.
Yeah. They're one and the same, right? As you can tell, we're great when it comes to social news or all that stuff.
All right, Pedro. We had a good episode today. Talked about the predictions. A lot of good content. I'll be able to hopefully get the algorithm to go and pick up, maybe cut something out using social media. But interesting to see what this year. This year is going to be amazing for this market. It's going to be good for our show here and for the DYOR Media Network channel. Good things to come. Hopefully some new shows, new episodes, that type of stuff as well. And of course, one big fat bull market, right? So that's good things. The other good thing is that we'll be on the air again soon. So pay attention to our schedule, and Pedro and I will let you know when we are on the air. Pedro.
All right, guys. Have a blessed day, guys, and be safe out there in this crypto jungle because it's nuts. It's about to get nutty even more.
All right, with that, we will see you guys later. So be there.